when we were studying about the gifts of prophecy, isn't it? And while we are in the same topic, I better finish the study of it today, isn't it? And today we are going to study about the pointed testimony or the living spirit of prophecy. For us to go into this lesson, let us quote from 1 TG 10, 21, first paragraph. That way says, no matter
how hard men try to bring about revival and reformation among God's people, their efforts are doomed to failure even before they start if God does not himself, through his prophets, take charge of the work.
When we hear that God is going to take charge of the work or take the reins into his hand, no matter how much we can try any revival and reformation, without a living spirit of prophecy or without a prophet, you have failed before starting. You've had so many reformation that go nowhere. Huh? Why? It's because if they do not have a living, pointed testimony amongst them, a living agent or a living human being where God will continue to communicate, they are doomed to failure before starting. That's what we have read from TG, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So we know that, go to 27, second paragraph. 1 TG 10, it's 27, that without, yeah?
That without the living spirit of prophecy in our midst, there can be no success in any revival and reformation. And that the sooner we know it, the quicker we shall achieve our goal.
Before starting anything, the sooner you know it's God who's supposed to take the reins. Yeah?
Amen.
The better, before starting anything, we mentioned about the gifts. And we said, when we need a revival, we need God to lead.
Amen.
And how does God lead? Through the pointed testimony. For instance, let's go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 17.
Verse 17.
Right?
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God,
Right.
and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
The verse did not say the dragon. Who is the dragon? Verse 9. Who is the dragon?
Verse 9.
Yeah.
And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent that called the devil.
So we know when the prophecy says dragon, it means Satan. So if we repeat that verse 17, it says the dragon, where it says dragon, Satan was wroth with who? The woman. Who is the woman? What is a woman? Woman is church. But it did not say with the women. Huh? The dragon was wroth with the woman, not with women. Did you hear that? The dragon was wroth with a church. Why? Because the church kept the commandments. But it did not end there. While keeping the commandment, what did the church have?
The testimony.
The pointed testimony. What is the testimony of Jesus? Go to Revelation 19, verse 10. What
Verse
is the
10.
testimony? Yeah.
And I fell at his feet to worship him.
Right?
And he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Jesus.
Right?
Worship God, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy.
What is the testimony of Jesus? The spirit of prophecy. So there was someone in front of who fell in front of who? John. And the person who said, no, I'm a fellow brethren. Worship God, isn't it? So he had fallen before a brethren. Yeah? And the brethren said, I'm a fellow brethren. You don't need to kneel to me or to bow or fall for me. What do you need to do? Worship who? God. For the spirit of prophecy, the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. And some might wonder what these brethren had. Who was talking? These brethren had a... These brethren had the living spirit of prophecy. Do you understand? These brethren had the spirit of God. Yeah? So what was this brethren called? A prophet. If you have the spirit of God, or if God was working through these brethren, when we say Sister White had the spirit of prophecy, you understand? What do we mean? A human being had the spirit of God, or a human being was a prophet.
Yes.
So these brethren who John was falling after, isn't it, had the spirit of who?
Of God.
Of God. But what, in other ways, what do we mean? He was a prophet. We have a quotation in CET, which is where Sister White is commenting about the same verse. CET 248. Right. Start from 243. CET 243. We want to comment on that verse where somebody is being worshipped by John and someone is stopping John worshipping, isn't it? And say, you shouldn't worship me, but worship who? God. But I am also a brethren like John. So who was this one? Was it an angel? Was it an angel? It was a brethren like John. But this brethren had the spirit of prophecy.
Yes.
Now, let's hear from CET.
From 242.3.
242.3.
In clear terms, the prophet John speaks of the remnant or the last church as those who keep the commandments of God
Right?
and have the testimony of Jesus Christ.
Right.
In another passage,
Right.
the same writer gives a plain definition of what he means by the testimony of Jesus.
What is the meaning of the testimony? The phrase testimony of Jesus. What does that mean? Because some people say, these days we do not have a prophet, but we have a testimony of Jesus, isn't it? So what did he mean by testimony of Jesus? What did John mean by testimony of Jesus? Listen to Sister White. Yeah?
When on one occasion,
Yeah.
John attempted to worship the angel who
Right.
appeared to him in vision.
Right?
The angel said, See thou do it not.
Yeah?
I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Jesus.
Right?
Worship God.
Worship God.
Under similar circumstances,
Listen to the commentary from Sister White. Under similar circumstances, yeah?
the same angel said,
Mhm.
as recorded in another place,
Right?
See thou do it not.
Right.
I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren, the prophets. Revelation 22:9.
That's what this person is saying. He's saying, I have the spirit of prophecy, right? Which is the testimony of what? Of Jesus. But what is he? Is he actually saying, I am a fellow brethren like other prophets? That's what Sister White is saying when interpreting that verse. Because we believe Sister White was being moved by the spirit of prophecy, isn't it? And the spirit of prophecy in her is the one that guarantees her to interpret that verse. Yeah? And what does she say about that verse? It's saying this testimony of Jesus is what? Is in this person. Is the spirit of prophecy in this person. In other words, this person is a prophet. Right?
The thought expressed
Right?
is the same in both of these passages.
Right?
In one, however, John's brethren are said to have the testimony of Jesus.
Yeah?
Are said to have the testimony of Jesus.
Right? That's what Revelation 19 verse 10 says. I am your fellow brethren. And the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. Don't fall on me. Don't worship me. But worship who? God. Right? And what?
In other,
In other.
these brethren
Yeah.
are called the prophets.
He is a brethren, but he is also called a prophet. So now do we know who is inspired by the spirit of prophecy is only a prophet?
Amen.
Right?
Therefore,
Therefore,
it is the prophets who have the testimony of Jesus.
right.
Amen.
With that only, it tells us that when we go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 17, where it says, Satan was wroth with the woman, or with the church, isn't it?
Yes.
Which keep the commandment.
of God.
And what else
And
do
have
they
the
have?
testimony of Jesus.
They have a testimony of Jesus, or they have a prophet. So our duty is to study and see whether we have a prophet. And when we find out, we have to be searching for that prophet. For God is operating somewhere. That's what we learned last time, isn't it?
Yes.
We learned that when we have a spirit of prophet, when we have a prophet, isn't it? This is a gift superior to other gifts. That's what we learned.
Yes.
In other gifts, which other gifts? Some were made apostles, some were made who? Prophets, some were made who? Evangelists, some were gift of governance, some were healing. All these other gifts come from the Holy Spirit, isn't it? But we are being told by the spirit of prophecy through Sister White, yeah? Who also has that gift of prophecy, which is the spirit in the prophets. Yeah? That this spirit of prophecy only goes to the prophets. So if I ask you, have you got the gift of prophecy in your church? And you said yes. So you know what you mean? You got a prophet. That's all you are saying. But there are some people who are a bit confused on that issue, who say, yes, we have the gift of prophecy, but no, we don't have a prophet. The prophet is dead. The prophet should be active and living.
Amen.
If you have a prophet, it should be somebody, a human being, alive, active, where God is putting his words. Yeah? Not a dead one in the grave. Moses was dead in the grave. What did he leave? 5 books. Yeah? And Joshua in the grave. What did he leave? The book of Joshua. And same as Isaiah, same as Jeremiah, same as Peter, same as Paul, same as Revelation, the Revelator, which we are enjoying, isn't it? Yes. All these were being used in their time.
Yes.
What did they have? The spirit of prophecy. And what were they? They were prophets. What is a prophet? Someone where God put his words. Now, if you believe the words, so you believe also the messenger. Huh? Because the words were put in someone. Yeah? So we cannot say we have the gift of prophecy, meaning the Bible. Because it will ultimately mean everyone who has a Bible has got the gift of prophecy. Huh? Is it true?
No.
We can't say we have the gift of prophecy, meaning the SOP books, Spirit of Prophecy books by Sister White. No, because everyone can have them. But if we have a gift of prophecy, we have an active human being where God is operating his spirit at the present moment.
Amen.
That's what we call a pointed spirit of prophecy. But let me tell you one thing. You cannot claim that you have the gift of prophecy in the church when we do not have an active human who is alive as a prophet. Otherwise, the papers, they are there, The Bible is there in the Bible. Where do you find the Bible? In the church is there, right? In the offices, in our offices at work is there. Is it? And where else do we find the Bible? In hotels, is there? In the court, you are made to hold the Bible. Do you say, I'm holding the gift of prophecy? No. But when we claim we have a gift of prophecy, what we are claiming is that we have an active human being around. And that's what Revelation chapter 12, verse 17 is saying. Now, let's read it properly now and understand. Mm-hmm.
Revelation 12, verse 17.
Yes.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus.
So now, are we aware what Satan went to fight? A church with the commandments. And what else does that church have? A prophet. That's how that church differed. That's why it's not women that he went to fight, it's a woman. You understand? If it's a woman, then there should be somewhere where this person is.
Yes.
Just a simple Oxford Bible.
Yes.
Yeah, simple grammar. You know, sometimes we act as Christians as though we do not understand proper English. We claim we are fluent in it, but don't understand what it means. Because this is English. If it says, the dragon was wroth with the, but not with women, but with the woman. It's a singular term.
Yes.
And went to fight the remnant. Yeah? Which were, what does it say? Among that woman or the church, there is a section called remnant.
Remnant.
Yeah? It's not the whole church.
No.
Read it properly. Let's understand English. Read it.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed.
Do you see the woman has a portion called remnant
Yes.
amongst her seed or amongst her congregation?
Yeah.
There is a section in the congregation which is called the remnant. And it's not the whole congregation, but it's a remnant. If you have a remnant, if I say this jacket, there is a remnant on this jacket,
It's not the
which is not black. Am I expecting the whole jacket to be black?
no.
Understand English. Understand English. You understand? English says the jacket has a remnant. You understand? It's not the whole jacket. If I say go and paint and put a white paint on this jacket, on the remnant of the jacket, and you paint the whole church, the whole Bible, did you understand the instruction? Did you?
Yes.
You just paint a remnant of the jacket. That's the English which is there in Revelation 12, verse 17. That the dragon was read it properly.
And the dragon was wroth with the woman,
Yeah?
and went to make war
Yeah.
with the remnant of her seed,
Right.
which keep the commandments of God.
There is a remnant of her seed. The seed of this woman. The seed of this church. Yeah?
Yes.
But how do we know which one it is? They keep the commandment.
Amen.
And what do they do as a section in the woman's seed? They have a prophet. Exactly. That's the Bible. Straightforward English. You don't need to rush the whole congregation and look at the whole congregation and say, are you the remnant? Are you the remnant? Are you the remnant? There is a remnant. And what is this remnant doing? This remnant is now being led by a prophet.
Amen. Amen.
And is keeping the commandments, all of them. Not a particular commandment, but all. If we say the feasts of God are commandments, is it a law? Yes. It's a law of God. The remnant will keep. Let's understand more about this remnant. Go to PK 713, first paragraph. If you want to understand that the remnant, there is a remnant in the church, isn't it? But the remnant will keep the commandments. Huh? And the remnant will be led by a prophet. And that's why the dragon was wroth with that remnant. Huh?
Yes.
Was wroth with the woman and fought those who were what? Who were being led by a testimony of Jesus or by a prophet. And have also the keeping the commandments of God. Now, let's go to 7:13.
Okay, 7:13. That which God
That which God.
purposed to do for the world.
Do you hear that one? Yeah?
Amen.
That which God purposed to do. Initially, he had a plan. Did you know that God had a plan when he created Adam and Eve? Huh? Right? God had a plan. And we saw when we started the gifts the other day that even when he had a plan when he created Adam, right? He was enjoying coming, visiting this couple, face-to-face conversation with this couple, isn't it? He did that. And we saw that this plan was invaded by the devil. The devil made Adam and Eve err, and that presence of God was disturbed. But instead, God still comes to humankind, and now with a plan of having a prophet. Since creation, that's what he did. Yeah? He now came behind a prophet to talk. To talk with the inhabitants of the earth. Right? Now, after that, the prophets were the ones, they didn't even wait for the sacrificial laws and everything. No, they were just there to make sure they communicate what God wants to people. Huh? We see the priests, they were killing animals until the coming of Christ, in the first coming of Christ in the Old Testament, isn't it? But the prophets, Christ himself on Matthew chapter 5 verse 17 said, "Think not that I come to destroy the law and the prophet." So people thought if he was going to die on the cross, he was going to abolish these prophets and even the law. But he said, "I have not come to abolish the law and the prophets." When we go to PK 713, first paragraph, let's read again.
That which God purposed to do for the world through Israel, the chosen nation, he will finally accomplish through his church on earth today. He has let out his vision.
Which one is the church on earth? The one that was seen by John, where the dragon was wroth with this woman. That's the very woman that God is now making the plans that were there initially when he planned with his children in the Old Testament. Yeah? He's taking the plans back to his church. That's what I have heard. This is Oxford English. It's King James, isn't it? Yeah. Because what I have heard from that verse is saying that did he have to make them a peculiar nation. Is it? To make them priests and kings. That's what he didn't talk the whole world. He took them. You understand? And he wanted them to keep the statutes, that's why he gave Moses a very big period, 40 days and 40 nights of studying how to present these statutes. And some people do not know that even these statutes were given on Mount Sinai or Mount Horeb. Go to 9, we will come back to that one. Go to Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 13.
Nehemiah 9, verse 13.
Uh-huh.
Thou camest down also upon Mount Sinai,
Mm.
and spakest with them from heaven,
Mm-hmm.
and gavest them right judgments and true laws.
Do you see what happened on Mount Sinai?
Yes.
It's not the commandments only, which were the 10 commandments only. What was given? Uh-huh.
Thou camest down also upon Mount Sinai, and
Yes.
spakest with them from heaven,
Mm.
and gavest them 9, verse 13. Thou camest down also upon Mount Sinai,
Mm-hmm.
and spakest with them from heaven,
Mm.
and gavest them right judgments
1,
and true laws
2,
and good statutes
right.
and commandments.
So do we see that all of them were given at the same day? Yes, people might argue and say the 10 commandments were written by God himself on the table of stones, yeah? But let's see what happened. What happened with the statutes? The next verse,
Verse 14.
verse 14.
And madest known unto them thy holy Sabbath
Mm-hmm.
and commandments,
Mm.
and commandest them precepts,
Mm-hmm.
statutes,
Mm.
and laws by the hand of Moses thy servant.
Right. So you see, the precepts were now the statutes, isn't it?
Yes.
The other laws, they were commanded to Moses to write them. Yeah? It does not devalue them, isn't it? They are all being taught to Moses. The 10 commandments. And what else was given? The precepts. You understand? Which precepts? The statutes. They were now given because the table of 10 commandments was given. And these precepts were also what? Given to Moses to write them. Why were these precepts given to Moses? Go to 1 BC 1104. We want to see the reason why the precepts were now given. But we saw that all of them have been given on Mount Sinai, isn't it? On Mount Horeb. Uh-huh.
Precepts given
Right?
to guard the Decalogue.
Right.
In consequence of continual transgression,
Right?
the moral law was repeated in awful grandeur from Sinai.
What was repeated?
The moral
The 10 commandments. That's the moral law. Right? Uh-huh.
was repeated in awful grandeur from Sinai.
Mm-hmm.
Christ
Right?
gave to Moses
Right.
religious precepts.
So the precepts now, which are assigned to Moses to write while they were on Mount Sinai, isn't it? These precepts now are being given after the moral law. Why?
Christ gave to Moses religious precepts which
What?
were to govern everyday life.
These precepts were to govern everyday life. The statutes, which are the feasts, they were to govern everyday life. Like we are in a new moon today. Where are we? It's a Monday. It's a new moon. Huh?
Yes.
Is it a precept?
Yes.
Precept and promise, law and love combine, till that shall come, nishili tena. Did you hear the song? Give me the Bible with what? Precept and promise, law and love combine. We sing it every day. Pure Oxford English. Yeah? It's pure light shall vanish till eternal day. Did you see that they are there, the precepts are there till eternal. Now what?
Christ gave to Moses religious precepts which were to govern everyday life.
Yeah?
These statutes
These are the statutes. These are the religious precepts. These statutes,
were explicitly given
right?
to guard the 10 commandments.
They are explicitly given to guard the 10 commandments. You see what is happening here with my phone? It's got a cover. What is the cover there for? To guard the phone, to protect the phone. So the 10 commandments were not just given. They were given and also a cover on it to protect the 10 commandments. And what is the cover? Is the statutes. Is the religious precepts. Is the religious feasts. They were given to guard the 10 commandments. They give you strength to keep the 10 commandments. That's guarding. That's what it means by, because precepts were given to guard the Decalogue. Which one is the Decalogue? 10 Commandments. They are being guarded by the feasts. Like it is with a phone with a cover.
Amen.
Now you cannot claim and say, I will keep the 10 Commandments without the precepts. You're joking. Isn't it? Because they were given, the precepts were given to guard the 10 Commandments. To protect, to make you able to keep the 10 Commandments.
Amen.
So otherwise, they were given because of continual backsliding, continual breaking of the 10 Commandments. So God knew that the 10 Commandments are not really easy to keep. They need precepts to strengthen you to keep the 10 Commandments. How many people are loitering everywhere? They've given up even worshiping God or given up even keeping the 10 Commandments. Why? What do they lack? The precepts, which are supposed to strengthen them while keeping the 10 Commandments. That's what I hear. And what? Listen, read for me. Uh-huh.
They were not shadowy types.
These were not shadows. Someone will tell me that the feasts are shadows. They have been blotted by the coming of Christ. Listen, the feasts were kept in accordance to what was the pattern in heaven. The pattern in heaven is arranged in feasts. That's why on day of Atonement, on day of Pentecost, Christ was coronated on the day of Pentecost. What was happening in heaven? There was a gathering. They were enthroning Christ into his mediatorial kingdom. That's what Christ's object lesson, page 120 says. It says on the day of Pentecost, he was enthroned. Why would he wait for the day of Pentecost? Because these were the precepts given to guard the Decalogue. Who was assembled in Jerusalem? Devout men, religious men.
Yes.
Out of all, it's Acts chapter 2. Devout men out of all nations under heaven. Were they commandment keepers? Yes. But what was strengthening them? The statutes, the precepts. These were keeping 10 commandments. But on the day of Pentecost, they were assembled. Read Acts chapter 2, verse. Who was in Jerusalem on the day of Pentecost?
And when the day of Pentecost was fully come,
Yeah?
they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven, as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting.
Right?
And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire.
What day was it?
Of the
Day of Pentecost. Where were they gathered? Verse 5.
Verse 5. And they were dwelling at Jerusalem.
Right.
Jews, devout men,
Right?
out of every nation. under
Every
heaven.
nation under heaven. That's what the verse 5 says. Yeah? Out of all nations under heaven. They were all gathered. Were they devout men? Isn't it? Commandment keeping ones. Were they Christians? Yes. They were Christians. They were followers of Christ. Isn't it? And keeping what? The commandments. And what else were they keeping? The day of Pentecost. Where did they keep it? In Jerusalem. And they received the what? The former rain. Huh? Let's go back and finish. Precepts were given to guard the 10 commandments. If you discard them after the cross and say they were all abolished after the cross, really? If they were abolished after the cross, then these ones who were in Jerusalem, it was after the cross. So how readest thou?
Yes.
And Sister White was raised to be a founder of a church after being given a dream and even the name, everything, and started on the Day of Atonement.
Amen.
It was in 22 October 1844. Is that a Day of Atonement?
Yes.
And then you have the audacity to say these were nailed to the cross. When it was exactly on the Day of Atonement that Christ went into the Holy of Holies. Yeah? And then you have that strength to say they were abolished. When by 1844, God was still counting that time. Huh? We saw what happened on Day of Pentecost well after the cross, isn't it? And we saw what happened on Day of Atonement well after the cross. So do you see they were not shadowy types to pass away with the cross? Even Paul and other disciples, you see in the New Testament, they were, give me where they were put, 1 Corinthians. Where Paul,
16 verse 8.
1 Corinthians chapter 16 verse 8.
Verse 8.
Mm.
But I will tarry at Ephesus until Pentecost.
Right? Do you see Paul is mentioning Pentecost? Was Paul a Christian?
Yes.
Yes. Was a follower of Christ. Do you see? He is going for the feast of Pentecost. Where? Read that again.
But I will tarry at Ephesus until Pentecost.
Why until Pentecost? He says, I'm going to leave. Tarry. I'll stay at Ephesus until Pentecost. Why Pentecost? Because after when Pentecost comes, where will he be? In Jerusalem. Read us the other one.
21,
Acts 18, verse 21.
Verse 21. But bid them farewell, saying, I must by all means keep this feast that cometh in Jerusalem.
Where was he going to keep this feast?
In Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem. But you saw him at Ephesus. And said, I'm going to tarry until what? Pentecost. But by Pentecost, what is he now saying towards Pentecost? I must by all, nothing should stop him keeping it where God said 3 times a year. And what?
But I will return again unto you, if God will. And
After-
he sailed from Ephesus.
After he left Ephesus, where did he go? Jerusalem. And after the Feast of Pentecost, where did he go?
He went back to them.
So what are we doing? Going back for the Feast of Pentecost and coming back? Going back for the tabernacle and coming back? Is it what the Christians were doing? Yes. And you tell me all that was nailed to the cross. Yay. Christ is about to come. Let's go back to the system which he instituted. That's what he was doing. He was coming from Ephesus to Pentecost, Jerusalem, and bade them farewell and say, I will see you when I finish the Pentecost, back to them.
Yes.
This is what he was doing as he was going to witness. What was he telling these people? I'm going now to keep the Feast of the Pentecost. And then after the Feast of Pentecost, I'll be back with you. He was going, sailing. That was the means of transport, isn't it? Now we have a better means of transport. 2 hours, you are there. Isn't it?
Yes.
Why did God increase this means, this efficient means? For those coming from far away, if we were going to sail, would you keep any feast?
No.
But look, these who were sailing, that's the only means of transport that they had, which was swifter. Yeah? And towards the end, God has now instituted plans to fly with it. In a twinkling of an hour, you are there. What excuse can you give God? At least those who were mounting on donkeys and horses took long to be there. They have a good excuse. But with us, God has now said, okay, they will be coming from far away now, from very far away. So they need something, a swift thing, swift beast. Yeah? Isaiah calls them swift beasts. In 2 minutes, you are in the Pentecost. And you are worshiping God according to how other Christians were doing.
Amen.
After that 2 minutes, you are back to Ephesus. Or you are back to Australia, or to Zimbabwe, or to Tanganyika, or Ethiopia, wherever we are, wherever. But there is no excuse. That's why it says people will run to and fro. Did you see Paul going to and fro with sailing? Sailing to Jerusalem and back to Ephesus. It was a to and fro. To and fro. Yeah? Which other feast? Sometimes we nail these statutes and these feasts. We nail them as if no other Christian after the New Testament kept them. But here, It's because you don't read. If you don't read, it's not God's problem. The Bible is there in front of you. If you call it the spirit of prophecy, then read it then. So somebody said, my spirit of prophecy is the Bible and the writings of Sister White. Those are my spirit of prophecy. Okay, if it's not a living agent, so then this dragon was wrote with everyone then, because everyone has got the Bible. Did you understand the verse? The verse said it was wrote with the woman. And it did not even fight the whole church. He only fought a remnant with the with the commandments and the prophet. Testimony of Jesus, which we identify that the testimony of Jesus is the prophet. So now read it properly, because Revelation is written in symbols, isn't it? Yeah. Now it says the woman will keep the 10 commandments and the spirit of prophets and have. It's not keeping the spirit of prophets, but have. Read it properly. It says and have, but it does not keep the spirit of prophets. He have. Somebody. Testimonies for the Church, volume 1, page 216. Are we really sure we will go into these pearly gates without somebody to revive the church? No revival and reformation can occur without this pointed prophet.
I have been shown that the Lord is reviving the living pointed testimony.
Did you? Is it Sister White saying that?
Yes.
It's 216. I've been shown. Was she shown?
Yes.
Someone was saying to me, I only believe Sister White when she says she has been shown. I know it's from God. But when she doesn't say I've been shown, I don't believe. Okay, let's go where she has been shown then. Yeah. We are now on where she has been shown. Let's believe what she has been shown, isn't it? What was she shown? Repeat again.
I have been shown that the Lord is reviving the living pointed testimony.
Was it a vision she was shown? Of God reviving someone who was not her.
Yeah. Yes.
Who she called a living testimony. If it is a testimony which is living, you think it's just a paper.
No.
It's a human being. Listen to the terminology. Listen, read properly.
I have been shown that the Lord is reviving the living pointed testimony.
Right?
Which will develop character and purify the church.
Amen.
Is it a person or is it a paper? It's a paper. Is it a paper? It's a person.
Yes.
Who will do what? Listen.
Develop character.
Who will develop people's character to stand in front of God? Huh? Did you hear that? It's a pointed testimony. What does pointing mean? Point? Sin as it is. Tell you where it's wrong and where it's right. Tell you what to do before you stand in front of God. The living pointed testimony. Who will what? Purify the church. Read it properly.
I've been shown that the Lord is reviving the living pointed testimony, which will develop character and purify the church. But while we are commanded to separate from the world, it is not necessary that we become coarse and rough.
Right.
It is said to common expression.
No. We have somebody. Maybe we'll need somewhere where God has Sister White saying somebody now so that we know. Because some people will be confused. You know, there are people who are a bit slow in catching expressions. So they can say this pointed testimony is a Bible or it's a spirit of prophecy or papers or whatever, isn't it? So we need somewhere where it's actually clear it's a person. Go to TM 475.
Let heaven guide.
Let heaven guide.
Prophecy must be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord said, Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Right?
Somebody.
Is it still a pointed testimony? Yes. But now it's more clearer tones. Somebody. Did you say somebody now? It's not a Bible. It's somebody
Yes.
is to
Come.
come. Uh-huh.
in the spirit and power of Elijah.
Mhm.
And when he
Why
appeared-
particularly Elijah? Why particularly Elijah? It's the person who went to the Israelites when they were not keeping the statutes
Yes.
and judgments. So God knows the law that has not been kept. The commandments we are keeping, isn't it? The testimonies we are keeping, isn't it? But there are two laws that we have ignored. That's why Malachi 4, verse 4 to 5 says, remember ye the law of Moses, which I commanded in Mount Horeb. We saw it, the law of Moses, in Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 13. It says the right judgments, right statutes, the good laws, the commandments. All those were given in Mount Sinai, isn't it? Now, God knows we have ignored 2 out of those 4. So he knows exactly the 2 are the judgment and the statutes. And of those 2, the judgments and the statutes, who went to the Israelites to correct those? It was Elijah the Tishbite.
Yeah.
But he was so unpopular when no one was correcting. They wanted to kill him. They did not accept him. That's why he kept on running away, fed by ravens, fed by that old lady of Zarephath. All that, he ran away because of men. Men did not want to correct the statutes and judgments. Now he's saying, remember ye the law of Moses, which go to that 4 to 5. Malachi 5, verse 4 to 5. Uh-huh.
Verse 4.
Mm.
Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb,
In Horeb,
for all Israel,
for all Israel.
with the statutes and judgments.
Which one in particular? The statutes and judgment. We saw that on Nehemiah chapter 9, verse 13. It was all 4. We had commandments, we had testimonies, we had statutes, we had judgments. Isn't it? But the commandments are kept. But what is not being kept are these 2. So he raises somebody who wants, with the spirit of somebody who once corrected before, isn't it? Where there is no type, there is no truth.
Yeah.
The type Elijah went to Ahab to correct the statutes and the judgment because the house of Israel had rejected those 2. Huh? And now, have you rejected those 2? Yes. That's why he raises somebody with the spirit of Elijah. Yeah? And gets those 2 statutes and judgments to correct people and say, together with those 2 that you are keeping, the commandments and testimony, include also the statutes and judgment. The statutes are the feasts, and the judgment are the laws governing neighbor to neighbor and neighbor to animals, isn't it? We find them all, the book of Leviticus. Go and read it. It's got all the judgments. Yeah? So he raises somebody in the power of. So we are expecting to find somebody like what the Bible says, the spirit of prophecy in TM 475 says, somebody is to read it properly.
Somebody is to come in the spirit and power of Elijah. And when he appears, men may say, you are too earnest.
Right?
You do not interpret the scriptures in the proper way.
Did God prescribe that if this Elijah, the last one that we are expecting, comes, will he be accepted?
No.
Did he prescribe that? Men will refuse. We say, too earnest. Let me tell you how to, let me give you an exegesis to correct that one. We don't keep the feast, they were nailed to the cross. Let me, because these are the statutes and judgment that Elijah has to correct. But the very first thing is, before Elijah corrects the statutes and judgment, we have to know that we have a living spirit of prophecy in our midst, who is a prophet, which John saw in Revelation 12, verse 17, and said, we have somebody who is coming to, with the devil, is going to fight, because the remnant will have the commandments and have a prophet.